In this episode, Plants for Free, how to divide your gorgeous daylilies. Grow Green, a step-by-step guide on getting your lawn ready for summer, and my top tips to stop slugs and snails munching your plants.
This is Step-by-Step Gardening with me, David Domoney, at the very beautiful Bridgemere Show Gardens. Our plant of the month, or should I say plants of the month, because I've got to be honest with you, I couldn't choose one over the other. It's flowering cherries, and I'm sitting amongst so much beautiful flower. The selection was just too tough for me. So if you indulge me, I'm going to show you a whole collection that are in flower right now. And hopefully, by the time I've finished, you'll agree with me just how spectacular and special this plant is. Now, first of all, why are cherry trees in flower just so spectacular? We'll take a close look over here. You can see the flowers, but what's missing? It's the leaves. It's a process called Hysteranthous, where the plant produces the flower. When the flower's finished, then the leaves come. Hyster as in after, anthos as in flower. After flowering, the leaves come. And it helps the plant because it means it's not too complicated or busy with foliage and flower. So the early pollinators are about in spring get easy access. But for us, it just looks so spectacular. Look at the amount of buds and flowers just on that one plant. Now there are many others. You get these beautiful pink ones here, you can get some darker pink ones, and you can get some doubles, like that little triloba there, almost like a packed rose in its shape. You can have big trees and small shrubs, so they're perfect for any garden. Now the one in front of me here is Prunus Kojo-no-mai. It's got almost like zigzag branches. I find it interesting in winter, let alone in spring, because of the shape of the plant itself. Lovely single white flowers all the way down, and because it's a small shrub-like cherry, you can grow that in a container very comfortably, or as a small shrub in a border. Some nurseries have actually grafted this bush onto a tall stem, so you've got a small flowering version of it as a tree. There's one just behind me here. Or you can buy weeping varieties as well. This gorgeous one here, pink Cascade, has masses of pink flowers on pendulous branches. And there's another one, snow showers too. It's one of my favourites. I've got that in my garden. That's dripping down as if snow is falling. You can get them that are tall and thin. The pencil cherry, Prunus Amanogawa, which is quite narrow but tall. And then you get the big, blousy double flowers of Kanzan. Huge tree that's incredibly broad at the top. There is a cherry tree for any position in a garden. The flowers don't last that long, but that's part of why it's so special. It's to represent the fleeting moments of life and why we should cherish each of those moments. But the thing about the cherries, it doesn't finish with their flower. When the new leaves come out, like this one here, which is Prunus Kursar, it has lovely, almost shrimp pink or a bronzing to the foliage that then opens out into green leaves. And Prunus Pissardii Nigra, spectacular blossom, but then has purple leaves throughout the year. So cherry trees give a great foliage canopy that offers dapple shade on sunny days. But then you get another bite of interest. During the autumn, you get autumn colour, burnt oranges and scarlets and golds, all from one plant. Positioning couldn't be easier. Sunny position that they like. They're pretty tolerant for most soil types, but they don't like sitting in waterlogged soil. Who does? And then a sheltered spot. When you've got these spectacular flowers, you don't want the wind clearing them off just as they start to go over. And that way you can choose something that has a right point in the garden to give you masses of colourful interest at the beginning of spring. Cherries, aren't they brilliant?
April is a great time to get your lawns in shape for summer. Lawns are an iconic part of our gardens, and with the right care, they can be a real asset to any plot. So here's my step-by-step guide to spring lawn care.
Firstly, what is a lawn? Well, it is thousands upon thousands of small grass plants are all grown in one area and regularly mowed. And it plays a really valuable part in the garden. It's much more than just kicking the football round on or having barbecues. The grass produces fresh oxygen as it photosynthesizes. In fact, because there's so many blades of grass, it turbocharges that oxygen production. In fact, 1 hectare of well-kept lawn will produce more oxygen than a hectare of the rainforest. It's also capturing carbon and storing it in the ground and aiding drainage too. And it's rich with life as well. Insects and creatures that live under the lawn. Of course, as the worms and insects are about, the birds also feed on them too. First of all, let's have a look at the anatomy of grass. As you can see, one upright with a series of very thin blades of grass at the end, but there are 2 side shoots. Now, if you cut on a regular basis, these shoots start to thicken up. As you can see, there's now 1, 2, 3, there's 5 of them all connected to the root there as it's getting bushier. If you keep cutting that, you then get so many shoots all growing together, becoming a little tuft. But you connect this tuft to loads of others, and that's what a lawn is.
Step 1 in my spring lawn care, repair any patches.
You usually know where they are. They're the penalty spot where the kids have been shooting. It's right in front of the barbecue. Areas where the grass has just died away. And the first thing you want to do, just clear off the debris and get a clear idea of the area of the bold patch. Now the first thing I'm going to do is with a hand fork is loosen the soil, because it's been a bit compacted and I want the roots to be able to have a nice cozy growth area, not through hard compacted soil. So loosen it up a little bit, the whole area. Take your time, work it round. Any large stones, take those out of the way. Try to break the clumps up as well. You can do that with your hands or with the fork, right up to where the grass is growing. Then lightly firm it down, just leveling that out so it's all loose and ready for the germinating grass to be able to put their roots out. Now I'm using this is a Patch Magic. Inside it there is a combination of coir, which when wet is a great substrate for the seeds to germinate into, grass seed and food as well, so when they've germinated, to help them give a good start. You've got this little shaker here, so I'm just going to shake a good coating of this all over the patch and a little bit in the grass around the outside so it merges in. A generous coating to cover the patch itself. Give it a good watering. You'll see the coir expand and there'll be grass seed underneath that and also on top. Give it a couple of weeks and before you know it, you've got your very own turf toupee and it matches in with the rest of the grass around.
Step 2, start to mow your lawn, but cautiously. In the spring, start to mow a conventional lawn fortnightly. For the first few cuts, don't go too short. Aim to take off no more than 1/3 of its height. Step 3, give your grass a starting boost.
Spring is a great time to get your grass looking fresher and healthier by adding a fertiliser specifically focused towards the growth of the grass, the green in the foliage. You get a couple of options, and here I've got a liquid mix, and here another one that's, well, it's soluble and you mix it in the water to create a liquid. Now they contain slightly different concentrates of fertiliser. This one here is a bit of a lighter mix and is pretty good for new lawns or established lawns as you wish, whereas this one here is really high in nitrogen and is great for leaf growth. So whereas that one's for new lawns, this one is really for established lawns. Now how you apply it and mix it is not as complicated as it might sound. All the instructions are on the back. So here, if you've got 10 litres of water, and this watering can's 10 litres, it says add in 100 ml. Now you get a very helpful cap in here with measurements along the side, and as you can see this one's 50 ml, so if I need 100 ml of this, it's 2 caps of this straight in there.
Once you've mixed it together, apply to an area as specified by the instructions on the back of the bottle. Take care not to overfeed your grass. This might do more harm than good.
Well, there you have it. If you follow these steps, you'll have a beautiful looking lawn throughout the spring and into the summer. And in our autumn special earlier on, there was loads of great hints and tips on how you can take care of your lawn in that season too.
At this time of year, as plants are beginning to emerge, so are slugs and snails. Out looking for tasty, tender new leaves to munch on, and they can completely decimate your plants. And who wants that? Not me. So here are my top 5 tips to deter slugs and snails.
Your war on slugs can be helped by that, the sun, because slugs prefer damp areas to move around. So if you water first thing in the morning or later on in the afternoon with enough time for the sun to help you by drying it up, you're making your garden less appealing to slugs.
Beer traps are an effective way to protect your plants. You can buy them or make your own. Take a small container, something like a yogurt pot or an old jar that you can sink into the soil. Then fill it about halfway with beer and make sure the rim is just above soil level so no beneficial insects will fall in. Slugs and snails, well, they love the smell of yeast and they're attracted to the scent and crawl in and become trapped. Space the traps far apart. If a lot are close together, the concentrated smell can attract more slugs and snails into your garden, and you don't want that.
Another option to protect your plants is barriers. Things that slugs don't like crawling over the top of because they've got quite soft underbellies, and with their slime, they don't like it if they're climbing over something that's either sharp or something that's pretty abrasive. So here are some natural options that you can put around your plants. Now down here are my little cosmos. Now I sowed these seeds a couple of weeks ago. I'm putting them outside now to harden them off a little bit, and I do not want slugs to be eating those. So option number 1 is wool. Because it is a little scratchy, slugs don't like climbing over that. And I'm going to put that down this side just here. So that's a barrier option for you. Another option is sandpaper. Of course, that's pretty abrasive. Slugs don't like climbing over that. Tuck that on the base as another option. Next is grit. The sharpness of grit can cause difficulties for slugs. So I'm putting a line down there. Finally, eggshells. An old gardener's favourite as a slug barrier, and there I'm putting a line of those because again they're quite scratchy. Just tip them in there.
Make sure your barriers are quite thick. A natural product like eggshells need to be regularly replenished to get a consistent effect.
4 distinct barriers here that slugs don't like crossing over.
There are also pet-safe pellets that act as a barrier when sprinkled around plants, but you do need to reapply them regularly. Slugs and snails also hate copper, so you can use copper tape as a barrier for your pots, raised beds or planters. When the slugs and snails try to cross the copper, the slime reacts mildly with the metal, stopping them from wanting to go any further, so don't leave any gaps.
Another option is to pull in
some plants that act as bouncers and deter slugs. Now, it's fragrant. Foliage that works particularly well. Herbs are very good. You don't see many slugs in a herb garden. Things like lavender and thyme and rosemary and mint all give off scent that slugs don't like. So if you plant some very fragrant herbs in and around your sensitive plants, the scent from the herbs can deter the slugs. And there you have it, my 5 different ways to keep slugs and snails at bay. And hopefully one or more of these will work for you in your garden. I have a competition for you. We're giving away 5 gift vouchers, each worth £50, and entering is completely free. Click on the link in the description and leave a comment about a gardening topic you'd like me to cover in a future episode. Open to UK residents only, closes on the 30th of April 2026 at 11:59 PM. Terms and conditions apply. Roses are absolutely one of my favourite flowers. Gorgeous blooms, an incredible scent, and a huge range of colours and sizes. In my opinion, you can fit one in any garden. If you want to know all about the different varieties of roses, have a look at Step-by-Step Gardening from August. But now is a great time to plant your roses. So today I'm going to show you how to plant roses in the ground, as a climber and in a pot. Now there are many different types of roses and sizes as well, and some of the smaller roses lend themselves perfectly to a large container. And I say large container because bear in mind they do get into quite a nice sized bush. You want the stability there, but more importantly, these roses perform very well during the summertime. It happens to be the driest time of the year as well, and having a decent sized container with compost to hold that moisture in will play a significant part in its performance. And drainage as well. Always choose containers with good drainage holes at the base to make sure there's a good flow through of water and things don't get waterlogged. Now this particular rose here is called Donahue. There you go, you can see a picture of it on the label there. Beautiful apricot rose, and the fragrance from this one as well is a little bit apricotty, lychee, a little fruity in its fragrance, but growing just to about 1 metre by 1 metre in a lovely tight shape. That makes it pretty good for containers. So lightly tap the container to assist it coming out of the pot. There you go. Ooh. Now you don't want to plant it too deep, plant it exactly the same level it is in the pot or container. You'll usually find there is a little bit of a lump or a stump where the plant was budded, and that goes just below the soil. So position it in well. Plenty of peat-free compost around the outside. This particular variety will also tolerate a bit of partial shade, but sunny I've always found best for roses. And the other thing is, don't fill the container right up to the surface. Again, whenever I plant containers, I leave that gap from the top to the surface of the soil that I can fill up with water during the summer when the plant needs a really good drink. Now I did water the rose before I put it into the container, and that's good advice with any planting in the ground or in pots. Soak your plant before it goes in. There's plenty of fertiliser in this new compost that should last for several weeks, but as the summer starts, a fortnightly feed will boost the rose's flowers, leaves and buds. Next spring I will add a slow release fertiliser into the pot to give it a good start to the growing season. And it's as simple as that. A really good tip, where you can, plant it in position, because that way you don't have to lift it heavy or move it around, or plant it in your wheelbarrow and then it's easy for you to move in location. It's as simple as that. That's one in the pot. Next we'll put one in the ground. Soil preparation is key with any planting, and roses will always do better if they're well fed. So I am adding some peat-free compost and slow-release fertiliser into the hole and mixing it into the soil that will surround the roots, that will give my rose a strong start.
Now I've got a gorgeous rose going into this border here. Look at that. It's called Elizabeth, named after our late Queen. It's a beautiful pink rose, little touch of apricot in there as well, and it's got a fragrance. A little like a lemon fizz. It's like sherbet. It's gorgeous. Now it will grow quite tall. It's about 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters, so that's why it's always best to check the label when you're choosing roses. And just like the container one, lightly press the side of the pot, tip it upside down. There we go. And then just place it in its position, just the same as before, so it's at the exact same level in the soil as it was in its pot, no deeper and no shallower. And then just round the outside I'm putting more peat-free compost. Really this is so that the roots get a bit of a comfy cushion to get started, not into stone or clay, but instead into nice compost. And then lightly backfill with the soil that was taken out, using your fingers and just lightly pushing in. After the first rainfall, it'll settle it mostly down as the rain starts to penetrate in the soil. There we are, in its new home. If you're planting several roses, make sure there's proper spacing. One of the big things about being successful with roses is to make sure that there's plenty of air movement around. It stops a lot of the fungus. But April is a very good time to get roses into the ground. They can send out roots, get established well before the summer flowering time. But the secret is not to let them dry out as the temperature starts to rise as spring moves on. And then, after a couple of months of well watering in that position, it'll be there for years and years to come.
My last rose is a climber, perfect to grow up trellis or cover a fence and wall. I'm planting one to work its way over this pergola.
Now the secret is not to plant the rose tight up against the wall or fence or surface. Plant it out a bit where it's further away from the foundations. In some cases, if you're planting up against a building, because it's got a roof, the eaves of the roof stop a lot of the rain from going down to where you plant it. So planting it further out gives the roots more access. And when you're choosing, remember there are climbing roses and rambling roses. The climbing is a bit more formal, a bit longer flowering in some cases, where the ramblers, they have a tendency to go nuts. If you want something to hide that shed and grow right the way over it, a rambler works well. If you're wanting something to go over a seat or a post or against a trellis work, a climber's a better choice, but reading the label is always good advice. Now, the one I've chosen for this location here, Mary Delaney. Plant it when it's raining. No, but just plant it in any days. It just happens to be pouring down today. But that's April for you. It's the nature. It's a lovely rose, this. The first thing, of course, is the flower. Lovely pink, double in the heart, nice fragrance and repeat flowering. But it's the stems. Look at that lovely burgundy colour in the stem and the foliage as well. But the interesting thing is hardly any thorns. It's not completely thornless, but it's pretty much.
You'll be getting the hang of this now. Enrich the soil with compost and slow release rose feed, and then plant the rose up to the level that it was originally in the pot.
Now here I'm angling the rose slightly back towards the post itself and then in filling. Don't go to too much trouble as soon as you've planted it, putting up wires, runners or trellis or anything like that. In fact, you could just use the little bit of trellis work that you get with the rose when you buy it. And the first year, I really want this to be sending out roots, get established, no heavy pruning, just letting the foliage grow so it's established itself well in its position. And then second and subsequent years, so a series of training, I work the rose up and over the top of the pergola.
Feeding roses planted in the ground is similar to pots. Give them a slow release fertiliser in spring, then during the summer a liquid feed like seaweed or rose specific fertiliser will help your plants flourish and look their best.
Well, there you have it. Planted in a container, in a border, or up a post or a wall, a rose has the versatility for any spot in the garden. Now, herbaceous perennials, they look pretty tidy at the beginning of the year, but of course they grow and fill. And over here, we've got some agapanthus just coming through, red hot pokers in the background, and at the front here are daylilies, herbaceous.
Herbaceous have abundant lily-like trumpet-shaped flowers that bloom in the summer, rising above their bright green sword-like leaves. They're easy to grow and look great in a sunny border.
They're called daylilies because the flowers don't last that long, but don't worry, there's always plenty of buds, so it successionally flowers. And they don't look big now, but this border will be pretty full by the time it gets to the end of spring. And these plants here will be growing up about this sort of height. So as you can see, they're going to get a bit congested, but there's no problem because you could dig a clump up in the middle to free the congestion and give a bit of space for the others to grow, and from that clump make free plants. Now here is a clump that I dug up earlier. I put it into a pot to help me move it around, but you know, if you've got the space you can dig it up and split it where it is. So let's first of all take a look at what I've got. I think there's a clump there, and a small one there. So I think I'm going to get 3 good sized plants out of that one. So that's what I look for first. Where am I going to be doing the splits? Now I'm just going to tip it out and take a look what I've got. See, it's grown a bit in the container, so I need to get in to be able to see the root structure. So I'm just going to move it about a bit so I can see what's in there. There we are. It's a good root system in. Now, different herbaceous perennials that you split, you need different implements. Here, because the roots are quite loose, I'm going to use some hand forks. Now, what I normally do is I put them in and then use the forks as leverage. Let's get going then. So first of all, just loosening up the soil in between these. It's not an easy job. These plants are pretty tough. So I've now got a bit of space separating the first clump. Don't worry if you cut through 1 or 2 roots, there's plenty more there. It's one of the reasons of using a fork rather than a trowel, which will be more of a cutting action. A fork is more of a teasing action. I'm now driving the other fork in, and now, there we are. Did you see that? That just separated it up. Now with my fingers, I'm just going to free this free plant. As you can see, the root system is still there. So I'm now going to look at this side and split these 2 to make separate plants. And in there, one will be slightly bigger than the other. Just loosen it about. Likewise in there as well. Yes, to lightly loosen. I think if you tease them like this, you hold a lot of the structure of the root in again. Both of them in, push them back, and see that? Just separates the plant. Very underestimated tool, a hand fork. And there we have 1, 2, 3. And these are big plants. I suppose I could actually cut that down to 1, 2, this is 1 here, even 1 at the back if you wished. Although smaller plants, they'll take a bit more time to establish and perform. Yet if I planted this clump in, I'll be getting pretty good show of flowers this year.
One option at this stage is to plant these larger clumps straight back into the ground. but you can also keep them for when space opens up in your garden.
There we are. Don't be afraid to divide your herbaceous perennials. That's how a lot of nurseries grow them. Now, if you're doing a little one, it's probably better to put it into a pot, peat-free compost, and grow it on, almost like a maternity ward for the young ones. And then when it's established and strong enough, you can plant it straight out in the ground. If you've got a lot of them, don't worry. It's a great opportunity to give a gift to a neighbour or a member of the family, because gardening is all about sharing. So you can pot them up into containers if you don't have space for them just then, or you want to pass them out. Bit of peat-free compost, just lightly pressed down around the outsides, keeping the plant to the same level as it was in the soil. And that way you can give it a water and grow it as a container plant for a short time, either to save it till you've got space in your garden, or to give it to somebody that you care about for them to share in their gardens. That's the magic of growing plants. Well, that's it for this episode. No worry, there's a new episode coming on in a couple of weeks' time. Why not subscribe to my channel for more great free gardening content? If you turn your notifications on, I'll let you know when a new episode comes about. And if you've got any ideas of what you'd like us to cover, just please put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your garden.